In the land of Israel, where mountains rise and valleys stretch wide, the story of 2 Kings unfolds. It is a time of kings and prophets, of battles and betrayals, but above all, it is a time of searching hearts. The kingdom of Israel is divided, with Israel in the north and Judah in the south. Each king wears a crown, but not all wear it righteously. The faithful prophets tread through the land, their voices echoing God's truth amidst the chaos. The book opens with King Ahaziah of Israel. After an unfortunate fall, he lies bedridden, desperately seeking guidance. Instead of turning to the living God, he sends messengers to inquire of Baal-zebub, the god of Ekron. But the prophet Elijah receives a word from the Lord. He boldly approaches Ahaziah's messengers and asks, "Is there no God in Israel?" He delivers God's message of judgment. Ahaziah will not recover from his injuries. Elijah's defiance speaks volumes. It reminds us that our source of hope should always be God, not the false idols that surround us. When we seek Him, we find true guidance. The king, furious at the news, sends troops to capture Elijah. But the prophet stands firm, calling down fire from heaven, consuming the soldiers. 3 times this happens, until finally, the king himself comes to confront Elijah. In a dramatic moment, Elijah declares the king's fate once more. As Ahaziah's reign comes to an end, we see the consequences of turning away from the truth. Elijah's journey continues as he is taken up to heaven in a whirlwind, leaving behind his faithful servant, Elisha. In a powerful transfer of authority, Elijah's mantle falls upon Elisha. With it comes a double portion of Elijah's spirit. Elisha begins his ministry, performing miracles that reveal God's compassion and power. One of the first miracles occurs when he purifies the waters of Jericho, making them safe to drink. The people rejoice. Here, the lesson is clear: God cares for the needs of his people. He listens to their cries for help, and he desires to bring healing into our lives. Elisha's ministry unfolds with a series of remarkable events. A group of young men mock him, calling him baldy. In a moment of righteous indignation, Elisha turns and curses them in the name of the Lord. 2 bears emerge from the woods, mauling the youths. While this may seem harsh, it illustrates the importance of respecting God's messengers. Rejection of God's truth leads to dire consequences. As Elisha travels, he meets a widow in dire straits. Her husband has died, leaving her with debts she cannot pay. The creditor threatens to take her sons as slaves. Moved by her plight, Elisha asks what she has in her house. "Nothing at all," she replies, "except a little oil." He instructs her to gather vessels from her neighbors and pour oil into them. Miraculously, the oil multiplies until there are no vessels left. She sells the oil, pays her debts, and secures a future for her sons. This beautiful story reminds us that God provides. Even in our empty moments, He can fill our lives with abundance. Next, Elisha encounters a wealthy woman from Shunem. She recognizes his prophetic calling and offers him hospitality. In gratitude, Elisha seeks to bless her. He promises her a son, despite her husband's old age. A year later, the promise is fulfilled. The joy of a child brings warmth to her home. But tragedy strikes when the boy falls ill and dies. In her anguish, she seeks Elisha, refusing to accept this fate. With unwavering faith, she lays the boy on Elisha's bed, believing in God's power to restore. Elisha goes to her home and prays earnestly. He lays himself on the boy, and life returns. The mother falls at Elisha's feet, overwhelmed with gratitude. This story teaches us about faith in the face of despair. God can bring life where there seems to be none. As Elisha continues his mission, he meets the sons of the prophets who gather to build a new place for their community. While chopping wood, one man loses his axe head in the Jordan River. Distraught, he cries out to Elisha. The prophet throws a stick into the water, and the axe head floats to the surface. It's a small miracle, but it shows that God cares about the little things in life. No problem is too minor for his attention. The narrative shifts to the unfolding conflict between Israel and Aram. The king of Aram plots against Israel, but Elisha warns the king of Israel each time. Frustrated, the Aramean king sends troops to capture Elisha. When they surround the city, Elisha remains calm. He prays, and God opens the eyes of his servant, revealing the heavenly army protecting them. They are not alone. This moment teaches us about spiritual awareness. In our darkest hours, we can trust that God fights for us, even when we cannot see it. Elisha leads the Aramean army into the city of Samaria, where he prays for their eyes to be opened. They find themselves in the hands of their enemies. Instead of striking them down, Elisha urges the king of Israel to feed them and send them home. This act of mercy brings peace. It reminds us that love can overcome hatred and that kindness can turn enemies into allies. As the political strife continues, famine grips the land. The king of Israel is distraught, and despair reigns as people turn against each other in their desperation. In the midst of this chaos, Elisha offers hope. He proclaims that by the next day, the famine will end. It is a miraculous promise, and it seems unbelievable, but God's words never fail. At the same time, 4 lepers sit outside the city gate. They are outcasts, with nothing to lose. They decide to approach the Aramean camp, hoping for mercy. To their surprise, they find the camp deserted. The Lord had caused the Arameans to hear a great noise, and they fled in panic. The lepers feast on the supplies and realize the joy of their discovery must be shared. They return to the city, ending the famine. This story illustrates the power of sharing blessings. When we experience God's goodness, we must tell others. Moving forward, the focus shifts to the kings of Judah and Israel. Jehoram of Israel continues on a path of unrighteousness, but a glimmer of hope shines through as King Jehoshaphat of Judah seeks counsel from Elisha. Together, they face the Moabite threat. Elisha prophesies victory and instructs them to dig ditches, promising that water will fill them. They obey, and the next morning, the land is flooded, leading to victory. This teaches us the importance of faith in action. God often asks us to prepare before the miracle comes. Elisha's ministry progresses with encounters that illustrate God's compassion and power. He meets Naaman, a mighty commander afflicted with leprosy. Despite his status, Naaman seeks healing. Elisha instructs him to wash in the Jordan River 7 times. At first, Naaman is reluctant. He expected a grand gesture. But when he yields to God's simple command, he is healed. This story reveals that God's ways are often different from our expectations. Obedience opens the door to our healing. As the story continues, we see the fall of the northern kingdom. The kings lead the people further away from God. Assyria rises as a threat, and the warnings of the prophets go unheeded. God's patience wears thin, and judgment is near. The kingdom of Israel is ultimately taken captive, a sobering reminder of the consequences of disobedience. In Judah, the reign of King Josiah shines like a beacon of hope. After years of idol worship, he rediscovers the book of the law in the temple. The people mourn for their sins. Josiah leads the nation in repentance, calling for the destruction of idols and a return to true worship. Under his reign, the Passover is celebrated as it had not been for generations. This restoration of faith brings hope to a weary people. It teaches us that no matter how far we stray, we can always return to God. His arms are open, ready to welcome us back. Yet, darkness looms. After Josiah's reign, the people quickly fall back into disobedience. God sends prophets to warn them, but their hearts are hardened. The Babylonians rise to power, and God's judgment falls upon Judah. The temple is destroyed, and the people are taken into exile. The weight of this loss is heavy. It serves as a stark reminder of the importance of fidelity to God and the consequences of neglecting our covenant with Him. Throughout the tumult of kings and kingdoms, the thread of God's faithfulness remains strong. Even in exile, He promises restoration. In a world filled with uncertainty, we can hold on to this truth. God never abandons His people. He walks with us through trials, offering hope and healing. As we reach the end of 2 Kings, we see that God's story continues. His faithfulness shines even amid darkness. The lessons from this book echo through generations. We learn about the importance of seeking God, the power of obedience, and the necessity of faith in our lives. In closing, let us reflect on God's unending love and mercy. He calls us to return to Him, no matter where we find ourselves. In our struggles, in our joys, He is present. Let us embrace His faithfulness and share His hope with the world. The story of 2 Kings reminds us that God's plan is unfolding, and every moment is a step toward His ultimate restoration. May we walk in faith, trusting in His goodness as we journey together.